How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brown Logan, and today I want to talk about some of the negative reaction that victims of Hurricane Harvey have been getting from the mainstream media and also some regular normies all over the internets. And before I get into it, I just want to say my heart goes out to all the victims of Hurricane Harvey, not only in Houston, but also Corpus Christi, Galveston, Port Arthur, maybe even as far as San Antonio, Osteen, maybe even Dallas, because of the gas shortages that this storm has caused and the whole melee that is encompassing that whole situation. And I'm going to put some links in the box below to some legitimate, helpful resources for people that are actually there. If you want to donate some money or supplies or whatever, you can send it to those links in the box. Don't give it to me, give it to those that really need it. But I'm going to go ahead and just keep going with the actual story here. Now, I didn't think that the mainstream media would really get so low as to what they've been doing over the past few days that this hurricane has hit. But you know what? At this point, I think the mainstream media, or much of it, is ran by people that don't really have the best interest of anyone else other than their own personal insecurities on the inside at heart. Okay. There's a cartoon by this guy. I think his name is Matt Wuerker or something like that. I'll put his actual Twitter page in the description box below, so you're able to reach out and say something to him if you want to give him a nice little compliment about his cartoon. And I'll place the cartoon on the screen before you. Now, here what you see is a person, you know, the typical the villain of the country, a straight white male with his cowboy hat and Confederate flag shirt on, being rescued. And then he's praising God in a situation. And then you see a guy over in the cut, probably a vocal atheist, but I'll get to that a little bit later, talking about, no, it wasn't God, it was a government, this, that, and the third. And he's standing on this flag of Texas that says secede. So they're trying to mock the secession movement that may or may not be happening in Texas right now, as far as it being a widespread thing. It could just be something that's online with a few people, or it could be very widespread, but I digress. So you see that, and then you see it juxtaposed to his Confederate flag. So basically they're trying to mock him for not only being somebody that is in touch with his Southern roots and heritage, they also want to mock him for being a white male Christian. That is the main thing that they want to focus on. The whole secession movement, they want to talk about that too, but really they want to focus on him being a Christian, because it's like, okay, I prayed to God for this to come, but it's like, nah, it wasn't God. So you got somebody that's trying to mock his religion. Now, this is what I was talking about when I said that about Joel Osteen. The reason why he got so much negative feedback, it was a lot of different reasons. It was not just one reason why he got so much negative feedback for not opening his church on time when somebody said that he should. And by the way, about that, in the last video I did regarding Joel Osteen, you saw the pictures. Well, what that was, it was a flood wall, and the water was almost at the very top of the flood wall. So if it was to get just a little bit above that, you would have had just pure chaos happening all over the church. There was like a little bit of water on a lower level, but if that flood wall was to be breached, it would be impossible for them to even have the church open. So what they needed to do was to be responsible and not have anybody in there with the water so high in the flood wall, because any little thing could have breached the wall. Like, what if the wall breaches and all the water just lets loose? Now you got a potential lawsuit on your hands. You're liable for people's safety. And beyond that, if you want to keep people safe, then why would you put them in a place that's unsafe? When the water was able to seed and they were able to get the water out by pumping it or whatever, at that point, they brought people into the second floor, not the first floor where all the water was at. Okay. So having said that, let's move right along. The reason why people were really upset with Joel Osteen, from my opinion, is because he's a straight white Christian male. That is the main thing. Oh, and he's rich. Think about it. Much of the left, they do not like, I say, three main things: patriotism of the USA, Mexico, Venezuela, Cuba, Africa, somewhere else like that. They're cool patriotism of that country. If you come with a flag of Mexico, that's cool to be patriotic. But if you come with a flag of the USA, the good old stars and stripes, all of a sudden that's bad. If you come with a state flag, it's even worse. Now you like a racist or whatever because of what the state flag may have on it. Like in the flag in my background over my left hand shoulder here, you see a guy with a spear over another guy that's laying down with a crown on the ground, and it says "Sic semper tyrannis, thus I bring death to tyrants." They say, oh, your flag is hateful, it's inciting hate speech, all that kind of stuff. But any other flag that may have some of the same stuff on it from a different country, it's not really a big deal. But I digress. They're against patriotism of the United States. They're against Christianity, but they love Islam. Okay. they find all kind of flaws of Christianity. When somebody want to talk about radical Islamic terrorism, they bring up the Crusades, even though the Crusades was really a response to radical Islamic terrorism back then, back many hundreds of years ago when it happened, right? And if you want to say that the Crusades was not about Muslim extremism and trying to counteract that, okay, but the Crusades pales in comparison to the conquest of the Muslims. You're talking about the Iberian Peninsula, Carthage, Constantinople. It pales in comparison to what Muslims have done over the years since like 600 AD on up until now. Okay. Now, I'm not being overly critical of Islam in general. I know a lot of cool Muslims that, I can get along with and we're good, but let's just look at facts for what they are. Okay. So we talk about Christianity. They're against that. They're against patriotism, and they're also against white people, but especially straight white males. If you are a gay white male, you might be okay because you could fit in with the LGBT crowd. That's your shroud that protects you. If you are a white woman, you may be okay because you fit into the so-called minority crowd when it comes to workplace and stuff like that. And you also fit under the umbrella of feminism. And you can be an ally with the LGBT because feminism and LGBT, it kind of goes hand in hand, kind of like Black Lives Matter as well. It's all kind of like one big puzzle piece. You have LGBT, and then you have feminism, and then you have Black Lives Matter. That's like the parents of it's like children of the parents. Okay. But if you're a straight white male, you're pretty much in no man's land because everybody looks at you, not everybody, but those on the left, they look at you as being like the leader that they hate. So you're like the scum of the earth. And on top of that, they hate capitalism. They hate rich people. So if you're rich, they want to take all your money away from you. So if they feel like you're religious, but you're not doing the right thing by your religion by having a lot of money, and they don't like people that have a lot of money anyway, and you're straight and you're white and you're a male, that's a recipe for disaster. So that's the main thing that I get from these people in the mainstream media. And that is part of the reason why the media, not the regular normies were mad at him because he has a lot of money and he didn't open the church and he was not doing the right thing morally. But the mainstream media and the far leftists do not like him for the reasons I said. And this cartoon and other people talking about, oh, Texas deserved what they got because they voted for Trump.
The professor who said Texas deserved Hurricane Harvey after voting for President Trump, he just got fired. Ken Story tweeted this, quote, "I don't believe in instant karma, but this kind of feels like it for Texas. Hopefully this will help them realize the GOP doesn't care about them."
I'm almost kind of surprised that he got fired because normally when somebody says that in academia, they're given all kind of praises by their superiors and their colleagues. But this guy got fired, which is a good thing. Shout out to the college who did that good deed, but I'm gonna move on. That's the reason why they don't like Joe Osteen, and this cartoon proves it because everything I said about him is right there. Straight white male, Southern heritage, Christianity, they're mocking that. And I even saw something from Charlie Hebdo over there in France. Remember the whole situation? Je suis Charlie, all that. Remember that? Now they got a new thing where they're mocking people in Texas, showing them with the Nazi flag and they drowning and stuff like that, painting everybody in Texas as some kind of Nazi. But, the crazy part about it is that these people are so ignorant and dumb and just blinded by their hatred. They can't even do a little bit of research. Houston, which is like the biggest or the main city that was hit by the actual Hurricane Harvey, it has a black Democratic mayor and it voted for Hillary, right? The state of Texas is deep red, of course, but Houston is a blue city with a black Democratic mayor and they went for Hillary. So if you want to characterize people that got saved by, the rescue squad as like, Southern rednecks, they voted for Trump, all this, that, and the third, it doesn't even make any sense when you look at the actual facts. And beyond that, let's talk about the Confederate flag right quick. They want to characterize that as some kind of like, hateful and demonic symbol. Right where I live in Norfolk, Virginia, or in this general area, not too far from where I live in Norfolk, there's a mural on the side of this place called Waterside. It's right there on the ocean front, a few decent restaurants or whatever. You can get on the ferry and go across, and it's like a little marina right there, right on the water. It's nice. There's a mural right there, and I placed that on the screen before you. Now, it says Norfolk. In the F in Norfolk, they had a scene of the Confederate memorial, right? It's a memorial to the Confederate dead, and they had a scene right there. Now, overnight, last night, as I'm speaking, they just went and painted over it. It was no, it was no decision from anybody. It was no vote that I ever saw. It wasn't like they had a city council meeting with people from the community and say, hey, do you want to vote to remove this or no? They just did it. But at the end of the day, there's like a war zone right down the street from that called Tidewater Park. Now, removing this monument from the mural is not going to change the violence down the street. And I don't feel any more or less safe if I was to be out there at night by myself. You see, these things don't really do anything. The Confederate flag, really, at the end of the day, when people wear it, it's like a symbol. It's like a symbol of their heritage. And it's not like they endorsing slavery, because that did not exist, that flag that is, until the end of slavery. How can the Confederate flag represent slavery when it only existed for 4 years of slavery? Okay. The flag over my right hand shoulder here existed from 1776, 77 up until 1865 when slavery was going on. Now, I'm not Albert Einstein. I'm not a mathematician, but in my calculation, that's about 90 years of slavery. So why does that not get a bad rap, but the Confederate flag does? Now, I'm not saying this should get a bad rap either. I'm just saying that the whole hysteria behind the Confederate flag is misplaced and it's dumb. People wear it because it's part of their culture and history. When I see people in the mall where I'm at wearing the Confederate flag, they don't pay me any kind of attention. They in there with their girlfriend, their kids or whatever, and just minding their business. They're not worried about me. But I tell you what, if I saw a group of 3 to 4 young black men, 15 to 21-year-olds wearing red and blue bandanas, if I got a pistol on me, I'm taking it all safety and I'm getting ready to roll. Either I'm going to leave the premises, or I'm going to be ready to fight to the death, because I know at that point I'm around some gangbangers that are brainless that don't mean me any good at all. But the guy wearing the Confederate flag won't do anything to me. Everybody listening to the sound of my voice feels the same way. And if they don't feel the same way, they're not really being logical. They're not looking at the actual numbers and the statistics. But I digress. I'm kind of getting off on a tangent. My whole point here is that these cartoons that these people put out from the left, their messages, their rhetoric, their TV shows, their award shows. I saw the VMAs a little bit. I saw a little bit of a highlight from that. Shout out to Mark Dice. And they're talking about SJW rhetoric in the award shows. They got men wearing heels, dancing with Katy Perry. Katy Perry's out there talking about Donald Trump being like this, the worst thing that ever happened. You got this lady, Cardi B, a former stripper, with her breast implants, talking about we rocking with Colin Kaepernick. I mean, nobody's really trying to hear that. Those VMAs were the worst viewed ever in MTV history. Now, part of that was because they went up against Game of Thrones in their season finale, which is like the biggest TV show in the world. But at the end of the day, a lot of their poor performance was because nobody really wants to hear that. That message is old, it's tired. The average person in the country, as I close, is more about unity. During Hurricane Harvey, you saw a lot of scenes of unity, people coming together, helping one another. It didn't matter if you were white, black, Hispanic, Asian, a space alien from Mars. If you needed help, people were there to help each other. Now, there is a dark side. Some people out there trying to rip people off, rob them, or do whatever. But at the end of the day, there are others out there that are trying to protect people, like the man that was guarding the store. People like that are really out there trying to do what's best for their city, for their state, and for their fellow countrymen, not because of anything else other than it's the right thing to do. So at the end of the day, mainstream media, you have to be ashamed of yourself. Extreme leftists, Antifa, Black Lives Matter, you have to be ashamed of yourself. You guys are not going to do anything but try to tear the country apart. But disasters like this show us that the average American does not fall on the far left or the far right. They're right in the middle, and they have good hearts. And as far as you trying to come down on Christians, how dare you? You should be ashamed of yourself. Most of the people that were in there in the flood helping people were Christian. A lot of church going people that got faith in God, and I respect them. I'm not religious myself, really, but I respect Christians because all throughout my life, this is what I've seen from Christians, the kind and good-hearted spirit. So when you attack them, you're not really doing anything but voicing your own personal insecurities. Maybe you had a bad experience in church. Maybe you had a bad pastor. Maybe you had one of those preachers that would touch you or whatever. But at the end of the day, those cases are not the norm. The norm is for most Christians to be kind-hearted. And if they're not really the best person in the world, they're trying their best to be. So what do you think? Do you think that this cartoon underlines the whole point about the mainstream media hating Christians and also straight white male conservatives? Or do you think that this cartoon was appropriate to say that, you know, it was not God that saved you, your faith in God is illegitimate? And my thing is, what's the purpose in doing that? Why must you question somebody's faith in God if they're a Christian? Why? Do you see Christians out here killing anybody in the name of Jesus? Do you really see that? Now, you want to talk about the past and slavery, all this, that, and the third, but I'm talking about right now, today. Do you see that? Is that really what's going on? Do we not see where the actual crime and the violence is coming from? Whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.
Tell me how you ended up on a jet ski heading out of your flooded home.
Monday morning, we realized we had to evacuate. We had to get out of there. And so I called Chick-fil-A. Now, that sounds kind of funny, but I ordered 2 grilled chicken burritos with extra egg and a boat. And can you believe that the manager, one of the managers of Chick-fil-A, she sent her husband to pick us up. And we are so grateful and so thankful.
That is incredible. And I know you loaded your possessions onto that boat, and there wasn't a lot of room for you and Karen to get in. So all of a sudden, some jet skis showed up.
So Karen jumped on the back of the jet ski, and I jumped on the back of another one, and they evacuated us to higher ground, and we are ever so grateful.